Thank you very much for coming in today. In my inaugural address, I promised to protect the civil rights of Vermonters and the human rights of all people. But more importantly, on that day, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the state of Vermont and of the United States. And I take that oath very seriously. And with that in mind, we can't pick and choose what pieces of the Constitution we defend. And that is why we're here today.
On Thursday, February 9th, Governor Phil Scott announced legislation that would require state law enforcement agencies to get clearance from the governor's office before they undertook any immigration enforcement actions directed by the federal government's Department of Homeland Security, which fell under state expense.
A few weeks ago, the President issued 3 executive orders relating to immigration and border security. All of us here fully appreciate the importance of ensuring national security and protecting against foreign terrorist entry. But despite how you might feel about the contents of those executive orders, it's increasingly clear that elements of these orders violate the constitutional rights of American citizens and infringe on the state's rights afforded by the 10th Amendment. Today, we are introducing legislation to protect against some of the federal overreach and to reassure our communities and citizens of their safety and security here in Vermont. As I've stated, I will not enter into any agreements under the border security and immigration enforcement orders, which ask states and local officials to carry out immigration enforcement functions to the state's expense.
The legislation, expected to be fast-tracked through the State House, also aims to protect Vermont residents from collection of personal information that might enter a federal registry or database. The governor was joined at the press conference by one of Bennington County's state senators, Dick Sears, who is also the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee and who also spoke in support of the bill.
The Senate, the Vermont State Legislature, our governor, our Attorney General, the House of Representatives are all saying, no, we don't want to be like the know-nothings of our early centuries, the 1800s. The bill will be, as Speaker Johnson mentioned, we'll take up the bill tomorrow morning at 8:30, joint session of the Senate and House Judiciary Committees. We'll be in room 11, and we will hopefully move the bill out fairly quickly. Now, legislative time fairly quickly doesn't mean tomorrow morning, but we will move it as quickly as possible, hopefully by the end of next week, at least out of the Senate.
Shortly after the press conference, the governor answered a couple of questions raised by the proposed legislation, which was in response to a recently issued presidential executive order restricting immigrants, travel, and refugees from 7 predominantly Muslim nations. That executive order has been stayed by a federal court in Washington and upheld by a federal appeals court and is currently not in effect.
Well, these are uncertain times. It's very unpredictable in terms of our new president, so I'm not sure. I guess the short answer is we'll have to wait and see. But I feel that we're on firm ground. We arrived at consensus. I built this cabinet in order to involve everyone to contemplate language and some sort of a bill that would protect Vermont and Vermonters from what I see as federal overreach.
The following morning, Friday, February 10th, Attorney General T.J. Donovan appeared before a joint Senate-House committee to answer questions about the bill, including one from Senator Sears on sanctuary cities and states. Under the sanctuary city or sanctuary state doctrine, local and state law enforcement officials may decline to prosecute unauthorized immigrants for violations of federal immigration laws and do not use state or municipal funds or resources to enforce national immigration laws. In his press conference the previous day, Governor Scott was careful to note that the proposed bill did not constitute establishing Vermont as a sanctuary state. At present, the bill is under consideration in the Senate Judiciary Committee. For the GNET TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.